Let's talk about something that looks like a pedalboard but growls like a real amp. This chunky little unit is called Chuck, and it's Underdog Audio's answer to the "why can't my entire rig live on the floor" question. And yes, it's a tube amp on your pedalboard. Madness, right? Not really. In this video we'll break down what Chuck is, what's awesome about it, and what still needs a little bit of house training. Chuck is a floor-based tube amp loaded with digital effects and amp modeling. Think of it like your live amp, a tiny effect board built in a box. The obvious things first. We have 5 turnable controls and 8 foot switches. Mode, tuner, booster, channel up and down, reverb, delay, chorus, and wah. Mode chooses if you work a preset mode, where all 8 foot switches represent one preset, or edit mode, in which you can use the black controls to tweak the parameters of your entire setup. Plus, there is a secret expert mode that gives you even deeper control over delay, reverb, and several other parameters. But we'll coming back to that later. Let's first focus on the 4 main controls for tweaking the parameters. Quick press the dedicated control to access the individual parameters and then tweak them in. The booster control sets parameters for gain, tone, and volume. The preamp can be dialed in with gain and volume. Equalizer controls the amp's lows, mids, highs, and amp settings, whatever that is. And the delay control dials in the amount of delay, reverb, chorus, and wah effects, not the individual parameters of the effect. These you'll find in the expert mode. The preamp section is a little more advanced to control. You get 3 different amp models that you can switch with the channel foot switches up and down, and 4 additional voicings within the channel for shaping your tone. Those are visualized with a little LED switching color depending on the gain staging of the sound shaping. The sound shapings you can access by a press and hold the preamp control. The core tones are really good. There's that amp-like feel under your fingers, and the response is super dynamic. Chuck doesn't feel like a modeler pretending to be an amp. It actually feels like an amp. I usually check that by the velocity or the dynamic response when tweaking the tone and the volume control on the guitar. When I dial back the volume, the sound gets clean, desaturated, and it thickens up just like a real tube amp when you crank the sound up again. Fairly on a modeler that's possible as well, but the digital device usually reacts a little different in my experience. For me and my playing, I love the dynamic behavior of the Chuck. I'd rather play with the volume control on the guitar for dynamic changes between song parts rather than switching channels, but that's me. Speaking of which, switching between presets has a tiny lag. It's not huge.
That's what she said.
But it's enough to make you pause if you were hoping to switch sounds mid-riff without a hiccup. A workaround might be to treat it like a traditional rig instead of a digital preset machine. Leave it in one setup, like you had one real tube amp, and then switch through the amp channels and turn on and off the effects in the edit mode. The built-in effects are surprisingly muted. Delay and reverb sit nicely in the mix, and you can tell these weren't just thrown in just to tick boxes. They actually sound good. I would have loved a mod section instead of a chorus where I can choose maybe between a vibrator, a chorus and a phaser. That would make it even more versatile and honestly leave the 80s where they belong. Chorus is just but that's my personal taste. Another thing to mention that would make it a little more handy, there is a tap tempo function, but it's hidden in the so-called expert mode, which is accessible throughout the onboard software. I have a wild guess why. Keep it as simple as it can be from the factory, coming from the factory. I like that idea of keeping it simple, but I think everyone who buys a device like this in 2025 has at least a minimum understanding of submenus and dealing with sounds, and it wouldn't be necessary to hide that in the expert mode behind some backdoor. It's a cool feature. Make it available at first. A direct tap tempo switch coming from factory would be the better choice in my mind, and a way to switch between global and preset tempos would have been a dream as well. But all in all, the layout is super clear. You've got dedicated and simple to understand controls, and they're divided into meaningful parameters that are super easy to understand. Every control and every switch has its dedicated color because the more color the better, obviously. Finally, a device that's so easy to understand that even a complete noob could handle it within 10 minutes of fiddling. Now, deep editing, the secret expert mode. Dialing in exact reverb tails and delay feedback is locked away in the desktop app at first. So if you take a closer look at the expert mode, you might recognize, pardon? No variety of reverb and delay effects. Only one effect each, and that's it. And to all those who complain here like, I need different delay times that I can dial in, and I need my shimmer reverb. I must say, hell yes. More's not always more, and that's for a reason. I believe that we're so overloaded from all those model machines that we're not capable of honoring simplicity anymore. I mean, unless you're not in an AC/DC tribute band. I'd rather have one good effect than a bunch that just don't fulfill my expectations, creating two line. No, let's not go there. So, in its simplicity and viewed as an amp with a few pedals in front of it, this is more than enough. One reverb, one delay, or how many delays do you put in the pedal? Here comes the next huge plus point. Chuck can power your pedals at 9 volts at 800 milliamperes. That's probably enough to power a Strymon timeline or an extra multi-preset modulation effects pedal, which you then can implement in the Chuck's MIDI in and out and through. So dreamy sounds on one go, check as well, or should I say Chuck as well. I'm a freaking child. So let's have a look at a few more features. By holding and turning the select switch, you can access some more submenus like a global IQ, EQ, but the other thing would be great as well as an IR mode.
Does that absolutely guarantee that there is better quality?
Nope, but does that mean I can implement my own IRs? If yes, how? I couldn't find, but maybe I'm stupid, so someone could maybe explain it to me in the comments. And there's tuner, as always, there's always tuner, and there's a wah, which feels like more like a novelty. To me, that seems like the only real weak point on the board. It's auto wah, like a touch envelope filter. It sounds good, question, but I never heard of someone using an auto wah. I'd rather control it mechanically, and therefore I have no possibility to connect an expression pedal to connect the wah, you know what I mean, yeah? Little hint, kleiner Wink mit dem Starkstrommast, and that's basically, wow, that was a lot. You may ask now, what's my first word? Is it good? Yes. Is it perfect? Not yet. But does it what it sets out to do? Abso-fucking-lutely. But remember, it's not a modeler, it's an amp, and we treat it this way. Chuck is one of those rare bits of gear that manages to balance the simplicity and the vibe of a real amp with the flexibility of a modern rig. Whether you're playing live or recording in your bedroom, it's got the tones, it's got the features and the smarts to keep up with its contestants. And compared to its only contestant, I know, it's out. It's simple, it's flexible, not as much as a modeler, but on the other hand, it doesn't need to. It's not a camper, it's not a QC, it's not a Tone X, it's no, you can do everything and nothing Wonderbox. It's a, I would say, old school amp brought to 2025. That's my first impression. And I'm dying of curiosity how you see that. Agree, disagree, let me know in the comments. Here's the next video. You can follow along if you like this review and want more cheeky guitar insights. Check out this video, and as always, thank you for watching and catch you in the next hangout.